G'day, guys.
What are you doing? Why is that so funny?
Part of me was waiting for you to say something, and then I'm like, hang on, intro's are my thing.
No, yeah, that's you.
Yeah, whoops.
You can't just say g'day guys and then just sit there.
I looked over at you and you were not looking at me, and I was like, hang on,
I was waiting.
I've got to do this bit. Well, this is the best of the rest podcast anyway.
And I'm Fraser, and
Who
are you?
Yeah, I'm one of them. The
Sticks,
other one.
I think.
The other one.
The other fella.
Right. So another episode. We're back to do a race review from Miami.
Yeah, a little sprint weekend.
Bloody good weekend, if I do say so myself.
Yeah, I think it was a nice one. I like the sprints. A lot of people have got some hate, but I think sprints are wicked.
I was just thinking the same. Like I do like it when I see a sprint weekend come up, and I think it's one of those things where you don't want the whole race calendar to be scattered with them, but just enough that when one comes up, you're like, ooh, bit of a different format this weekend, bit more action. Let's see how this goes.
Exciting.
I don't mind it.
No, it was good. It was good. And just to get bloody straight into it, Antonelli sticking her on pole in the sprint quali.
Unbelievable.
How about it?
I couldn't believe it. Live to me.
Yeah.
I was losing my shit. I was up and about.
Yeah, that was unreal. I definitely did not see that coming. Like, he was looking quick the whole weekend up to it, but far out. Like, that was unreal.
And what was the stat? 2.5 years younger than the previous pole sitter in any format? Something along those lines?
Yeah, it was like Vettel, who was like 20 and whatever. And, yeah, Antonelli's like 18. It's like, what the fuck?
Crazy.
Yeah, like absolutely smash it. Like I know that it's a sprint quali and not a Grand Prix, but still like a main race. But that to me doesn't really matter.
Well, even the main qualifying session, he looked quick. It was just that last lap that sort of he faded a little bit, but in Q1, Q2, he's still right up there. And you're like, could he do it again?
And you know, this is the first time that he's been at Miami.
That's crazy.
So he's getting to know the car at the track, and all he's had is one practice session and then sticks it on pole in the sprint quali.
Well, I heard Martin Brundle mention at some point that one of the rookies came up to him and said, I've literally never driven at this track. And he didn't disclose who it was, but it'd be funny if it was Antonelli, because Brundle's advice to him was, don't worry about it. It's just like any other track. There's lefts, there's rights, and there's straights. Just go out there and drive.
Yeah.
So how funny would that be if it was Antonelli and that just cemented his mindset? Yeah, well, it's just another track and this is what I do. And he goes out and puts it on pole.
That's the advice that puts it on pole.
That'd be hilarious.
Oh, imagine that.
But yeah, great to see that. What else happened from that sprint qualifying? The McLarens looked all right. It was ridiculously close.
Yeah.
Verstappen goes all right in the quali, but that Red Bull's not looking great in race trim.
No, I think it's going to be a kind of bit of a usual story for Red Bull and Verstappen, that he can stick it together for the qualies, but it's the race obviously where the points are won, and that seems to be where the Red Bull's struggling and lacking a bit this year. Yeah,
Verstappen's towing the line, but you know, even he can't sort of get too much out of this car unless it's track specific, and yeah, they didn't look fantastic at Miami.
No, they didn't. Hulkenberg got his Sauber up to 11th. Bortoletto unfortunately couldn't do the same. He could only manage 18th, so he stayed in SQ1 elimination.
That's pretty good effort from Hulk to get 11th in the sprint quality.
Yeah.
That car's looking pretty average.
Yeah, those Saubers are looking like a hard bit of machinery to drive.
I guess if we quickly just run through the qualifying order for the sprint. So from first, it was Antonelli, Piastri, Norris, Verstappen, Russell, Leclerc, Hamilton, Albon, Hadjar, Alonso, top 10. Then Hulkenberg, Ocon, Gasly, Lawson, Sainz, Stroll, Doohan, Bortoletto, Behrman, and Sonoda.
Yeah, Sonoda's struggling down there in 20th.
That was actually that was a sprint grid, so he must have got. They fixed something on his card for him to, because he actually qualified 18th, so he started 20th because I think they did a setup change or something.
Yep.
But the big thing for me, well, there's a couple that stand out. Ferrari just sort of meh, no man's land, 6th and 7th.
Yep.
Just not really threatening. But Albon putting in 8th was impressive.
Yeah, he's doing a good job in the Williams. Signs. Yeah, he's
Massive lockup.
Yeah.
Did you see that?
Bit of a misfortune.
That shot of that lockup into what was it, like turn 11 or something around there. Yep. But they had that camera shot from just the side of that braking zone, and he gets onto that ripple strip, and it's just a violent lockup, like just squealing, smoke pouring off. Like that tyre was absolutely cooked.
Yeah,
it was. It was a bit going on there.
Yeah, just sent. He obviously DNF'd that session, so that put him 15th. But yeah, Albon was able to get through at SQ3 and put in an 8th, which, nice little result there by Albon.
All right, so let's go over to the race itself then. So, poor Antonelli had a little bit of a rough race, finished 7th. I guess we just go through the podium. So Norris won the sprint under safety car finish from Piastri, and then Hamilton put it on the podium. Luckily, wasn't on raw pace. It was just strategy.
Yeah, their strategy was worked out quite well for them, and Hamilton thanked them. He said it was unreal strategy, and just everything has kind of worked with the safety car, but that's racing at the end of the day, isn't it? Some of the strategy is to take the risk and hanging out for a bit longer and wait for a safety car or go in early or whatever. So, and
Hamilton had nothing to lose because, from memory, there was a shower coming in, wasn't there? And they were jumping on the inters.
Yeah, and
he had no pace on. I think it was the medium tyre.
Yeah,
like he was just nowhere. It looked like he was going to get overtaken, and then boxed earlier than everyone else. At the right time, made up some time, and then, there was a safety car, so the race actually finished under safety car.
Yeah.
But definitely timed that perfectly, which, I guess singing Ferrari's praises on the Saturday, but we'll get to it later on, but not so much on the Sunday.
But Charles Leclerc couldn't make it to the grid.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we skipped over that.
Yeah, so start of the sprint race, very wet conditions. And Charles just lost it. Just not necessarily a fault of his own, just
full aquaplane.
Yeah, the car just fully aquaplane, slid. He had no control and just continued sliding.
And this wasn't even the formation lap. This was the lap where they drive out from the pits to go and park on the grid.
Yeah, that's it, yeah.
Which is wild.
Yeah.
It did seem like it started to rain as they sort of sent him out down the pit lane, and he's on inters.
Yeah.
And then the rain got really heavy, and then everyone else was sort of hesitating to even go out. I think that people and ahhing between inters or mediums just to get him around the track.
Yeah.
And then, heard him say afterwards that he wasn't pushing, and it just got to that slight bend on that straight, and he's like, aquaplane, the car just skid.
Yeah.
And that'd be a scary feeling.
Oh.
Because, even not pushing, you would have been doing closing on 200, you imagine?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like, when we talk about not pushing and just cruising around the track, like, this is comparable to cars that are doing over 300 kilometres an hour. So when they're not pushing and going slowly, it's still way faster than what we're going down the highway kind of thing.
Well, yeah, if you were doing the speeds that we do down the highway, the car wouldn't work because it wouldn't have any downforce. It wouldn't be able to turn the thing. So they can't putt around or else it makes it undrivable. So
it wouldn't make it around the corner. Unreal.
What else in the sprint? I guess that first corner, there was Piastri and Antonelli, and Piastri basically did a repeat of him and Verstappen at Jeddah.
Yeah.
And just sort of, he had the corner, claimed it, but didn't give Antonelli any room, and Antonelli didn't ease off, and then he ended up off the track and lost a bunch of positions in the first corner, and there was sort of his chances to win the race.
Yeah, and then the other factor of Antonelli's race was the pit stop.
Oh, the pit stop.
Yeah, so he's coming. He hadn't even got to his pit box yet, and they released Verstappen. Full, just like not Verstappen's fault, but came straight out, literally into Antonelli. Luckily, Antonelli was aware enough to brake and swerve, so it took the front end of the front end plate of Max's wing, but it meant Antonelli couldn't turn into his pit box, so he had to drive out of pit lane again. So it was essentially like having a drive-through penalty.
Yeah, it was like as they'd sent Max out, and Antonelli's come along just to turn in, and they've just hit at a shocking time. And if Antonelli didn't have the reflexes to go shit and then bail out and have the clarity of mind for an 18-year-old, mind you, to just go like fuck the pit stop, bail out of the way so I don't hit the mechanics and just keep driving.
Yeah, because if he had to stay committed to that pit box entry, and Verstappen, essentially T-bones him, then it would have just sent him straight into the
mechanics.
I don't know how many mechanics you have for a pit stop, but
the ones that were right in the firing line, there would have been an easy half a dozen blokes there.
Yeah,
to service the left side of his vehicle. That's
and they would have copped it.
Props to the young man for thinking on his feet and dealing with that situation like a champion, because that could have been absolutely dreadful. Yeah,
so Verstappen obviously got 10-second time penalty there for the unsafe release, but
I think Red Bull should cop more of a consequence than what they did as a team, whether it's monetary or something for that, because that's ridiculously dangerous. As in, like, that could have gone. You run that situation over 10 times, and you're probably going to get some people seriously injured. It's just so lucky that it played out the way it did, and no one got hurt, and it was just a bit of body damage.
Yeah, well, it's a lot of fine margins in motor racing, and especially in pit lane scenarios, like any discipline of motor racing, really. Like, the pit boxes are that close to each other that it's unreal. Like, sometimes you see NASCAR or Formula One, supercars or something like that, where they've got their tyres sitting to the side or stacked or whatever, and you see a wheel running through and a car clips it and, sends it down the pit lane.
It does feel like, I don't know, just like 10-second time penalty for the race. Yeah, that like Max's race was already ruined because he had his lip destroyed. Yeah. Antonelli's race is ruined because he's had a basically drive-through penalty.
Yeah.
It just feels like, I don't know, I don't know what the penalty should be, but it should be harsher so that teams go, hang on, no, instead of trying to squeeze out this gap that's probably not going to happen, we'll cop a second as this car drives past to let him out. Because otherwise it's like, you're just going to keep risking it.
Yeah.
It's like, you slap on the wrist.
Yeah.
Almost.
Yeah, that's right. Needs to be a bit more there, I think.
But yeah, from the sprint race, that was probably the highlights. Had a few DNFs in Alonso, Sainz DNF'd, and Leclerc didn't make it to the grid. What did Sainz do in that race? I can't remember now. Alonso got taken out by Lawson, which was a bit dicey, and Sainz...
What did happen with Sainz?
He made another mistake, didn't he, doing something? I can't think. Anyway.
I can't remember what his was, to be honest.
We'll jump over to the qualifying for the main race. All right, give us a quick rundown of the main race there, Freezer.
So we had... What did we have? I was going to do some Googling, but you've kicked me off. Thrown me into we had in the qualifying, we had Verstappen put it on pole. Fantastic lap that he had there. It was looking like it was going to be a McLaren front row kind of lockout there, but Verstappen doing Verstappen things, threw it all together, and put a great result in. But and the other factor as well to that was McLaren didn't get any cars locking out the or didn't get both cars locking out front row. Was Verstappen first, but you also had Antonelli splitting them in third. So the young fella putting in another great qualifying result and essentially proving that the sprint quali wasn't just a fluke. He's in there putting in consistent laps and showing that the car was on it, but he was as well for that weekend. So
I think Max's performance is not to be underestimated. Like, that is insane to beat both McLarens, and he just does it time and time again. He just finds those fractions of a second to get the job done. Who was it that was... It might have been the P1 boys. I was watching one of the clips, and they were talking about every qualifying session this year for pole, there hasn't been a difference of more than a tenth of a second.
That's crazy. It's unreal.
And for Max to put it on pole, I think this is the third time he's put it on pole this year, and it's always by the slimmest of margins, but he just managed to find that bit more. It's unbelievable. And have you heard the... slightly off track, but the banter between Max and Lando. Well,
no.
I guess you call it banter. It probably goes a little bit deeper than that, but Max has more or less said that Lando wouldn't see him if they were both in a McLaren. Like, he'd be that far down the road that Lando wouldn't even see him.
Yeah, right.
And then Norris is going, that's not true at all. Like, he's welcome to come and jump in our car anytime. Like, I guarantee that he wouldn't be going lapping faster than me and rah, rah, rah. Like,
yeah.
But I think it was a bit more Verstappen. Well, I took it a bit more as Verstappen talking a bit of shit, having a bit of a joke. But I think Norris got a little bit butthurt. Like,
yeah, right. Well, I guess he'd be copping a lot of that from media and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Everyone asking the questions.
Just to jump back real quick. So Sainz DNF'd the sprint because of that, little chicane section before the back straight at Miami.
Yep.
He clipped the inside left wall. I forgot about that, but I just found a clip here.
Yeah.
And he clipped it and absolutely
that was
screwed the back left of the car.
Clipped her and then tried to continue on, but
she was
too
muntoed.
far gone.
But yeah, so another interesting qualifying. Because what the final margin was 5.5 hundredths of a second between Lando and Max. Antonelli to put it third is crazy. Again, only like less than a tenth.
Yeah.
Piastri was a little bit further back, but again, the big one for me is the Williams and Ferrari battle. So Sainz and Albon 6th and 7th, and then you've got Leclerc in 8th. And where did Hamilton? Hamilton was 12th. That's wild. That's insane.
Wow.
Do you think Sainz at any point would have thought, oh, okay, I'm going to Williams. Yes, I like this long-term project. I think we're heading in the right direction. But the season he gets in that car, he would never have thought there'd be any race where he'd be out-qualifying a Ferrari.
No.
And both of them out-qualified
both Ferraris. Yeah.
That's wild.
And by reasonable enough margin too.
It's not out of the realm of possibility that if Williams bring an upgrade package that match sort of Ferrari's development this year, that they could challenge Ferrari for that 4th position if Ferrari don't pick their game up.
Yeah, well, I mean, if Williams continue with this kind of trajectory, then yeah, it could very easily surpass Ferrari.
Because there is part of me that can see Ferrari going, you know what, this year's not worth it. We're probably, like, if you get to the halfway point of the season and they're just so far off that they're probably not even going to, make it to 3rd in the constructors, I can see them just going, we'll focus on next year. But if Williams just go for it, anything could bloody happen. which would be wild to see.
Yeah, well, I think Williams are definitely showing that they've got the pace and whatever there, and
the
strategy
drivers.
and the drivers. They just need that little bit more consistency because, like, they've been putting in qualities like this, but then they'll have DNFs or something happen. So they've only got, well, not only, they've got 37 points, so they're in fifth, and Ferrari got 94, so there's still a decent gap there. But yeah, if
More weekends like Miami, and they, they'll be. I can see Hamilton just losing patience with the team this year. He doesn't seem very happy. But you got to think, Albon lost that bloody fourth position in the sprint because of some safety car infringement. So that was, 5 points down the drain?
Yeah.
That would have been a massive weekend for Williams if they banked another 5 points on top of we were in qualifying, but the solid finish for the race.
Yeah, well, I guess that's a good way to move across to the race result for the main race.
Yeah, jump over to the finishing result. So, top three, Freezer.
So we had our boy Piastri secure another one.
Mate. 4 out of 6.
3 in a row for the young Australian. Last time for a McLaren driver to do that, I think, was 1998 by Mick Hakkinen.
That is a crazy stat.
That's just for a McLaren driver, and
I can't believe that.
he's only the third ever Australian. So it was Jack Brabham, Alan Jones, and now Piastri.
And you think the modern names that have come before Piastri and Ricciardo and Webber.
Yep. Never 3 in a row.
And his third season, he's just gone with a super competitive teammate, mind you.
Yeah, and it was already after last race that he took over. Yeah, so after last race he took over the championship lead, and that was when he was the
First
first Australian since Webber to lead it, which meant Ricciardo had never led a championship, and now he's surpassing some of those stats. So
absolutely wild.
Oh, he's doing unreal. Well on track to there's a lot of people and betting platforms are putting him as the favourite. I don't know if I'd say the favourite just yet. He's definitely a hot contender, and it's definitely getting our Australian blood pumping. But
it's just good to see.
Yeah.
And there's just so many factors. It's his third year in Formula One, so he's only going to get better, and he's already performing like this.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, so did you run through the rest of the top three?
No, I got too excited just with the win. So then the rest of the podium was Norris second and Russell in third. Quick little run through for the rest. Verstappen, Albon, Antonelli, Leclerc, Hamilton, Sainz, and Tsunoda to finish out.
Conclude.
What am I looking for here?
Round out.
That'd be it.
Got there in the end.
Round out the top 10. Then from 11th on, we've got Hadjar, Ocon, Gasly, Hulkenberg, Alonso, Stroll, Lawson, Bortoletto, Bam, and Doohan.
And those last 4 were DNFs.
They were, yeah.
Right, so I guess the first thing to jump to is the McLaren dominance. Piastri finished 37 seconds ahead of Russell and, about 4 seconds ahead of Norris. So it was more or less those two and then, half a track before third come around. Like this just in race trim, the McLarens looked unbelievable.
Yeah.
But we got some action before that happened. We had Max leading the race. Norris and Max had a little tussle at the second corner. So Verstappen sort of braked deep into the first corner and, sort of left the door open. Norris went up the inside, but Max just squeezed him at the next corner and forced him off the track, which then caused Norris to drop down to 4th or 5th, and then they're both harping on at the radio, and as they do.
Yeah.
But that left the door open for Piastri to get ahead of Norris, and then, worked his way through the field. But when Piastri got to Verstappen, it was just a masterclass. Like he felt it out in the first lap. Like, okay, where's Max sort of braking here, going into the first corner? Yep, righto. Second lap, coming to the first corner again, pushed Max to the inside, and then just forced him to brake onto the dirty stuff, knowing that he's probably more likely going to lock up here.
Yep.
Left the space for Max to lock up, push deep, and just cut back in and was like, see you, mate.
Yeah.
And it didn't really become as apparent how clean it was until you see Norris come up and try to do the same thing in the same car. And Norris doing Norris things is probably a little bit too respectful, maybe, in the way he's trying to overtake Max and not sort of forcing himself past in like a clean racing manner. But like, yeah, more or less the same thing happened in the first corner. He went to overtake him and then sort of Max pushes him wide and it's a bit of a tussle. And it took Norris quite a bit to get past Verstappen. And at that point, Piastri was 10 seconds down the road.
Yeah, I think so. And the engineers ended up coming onto Norris's radio and telling him how Piastri passed. And you could just imagine, like,
degrading.
Yeah. How would you feel? Like, you're meant to be kind of the lead driver. Like, I know they don't have number 1 and 2 drivers, but he's been there the longest.
He's sort of number 1, isn't he?
Yeah, he's more experienced. He was a championship contender before Piastri led it for a bit this season. Like,
he should be the number 1 driver.
He should be the number 1, essentially. And for him to then have to be told, this is how you pass Verstappen. Like,
And, okay, so now another angle of that is you think of back to last year and how many opportunities Norris had battling Verstappen to learn how Verstappen goes about it. It's not like it's his first rodeo trying to get past Verstappen.
Yeah.
Where Piastri hasn't had a lot of wheel-to-wheel racing with Verstappen in competitive machinery to try and overtake, yet he's doing it so much cleaner than what Norris has with that experience in the back pocket.
Yeah, it's starting to seem like Norris is very quick, maybe quicker than Piastri, but Piastri's racecraft has
unbelievable,
been just unreal. Like, the kid can drive. And as you said, he's just starting his 3rd season. He's leading a championship. Like, he's only going to get better.
This is Max Verstappen's 10th thereabouts.
Yeah.
11th, something around there. So the amount of experience he's got in Formula 1,
maybe.
And he's raced a lot of amazing drivers and got a lot of experience.
Yeah.
So, yeah, for Piastri to sort of somewhat run rings around him.
Oh, it's exciting. And then
brilliant.
With how Antonelli's been qualifying lately, like, we just got so many great drivers coming up through and
Gunn's still on the grid.
Yeah.
It's a great mix.
Yeah. It's exciting. Like, who knows what, even this season, like, yeah, the McLarens are looking quick, but anything could happen. Like, another team's car development or McLaren slightly go wrong with one of their upgrades or, anything really.
You get a glimmer of what Antonelli can do, and then you just picture Antonelli v Piastri in the years to come. And you're like, oh,
yeah,
insane.
Like, it's another one where Antonelli kind of got pushed around a little bit in the race, so he's dropped back a few positions, but you think when he gets a bit more experience under his belt and he's starting from, pole on the sprint quali or 3rd in the main quali, what he could do with those, he'll be starting to bring home some wins and big points for the team. So
it's exciting stuff,
isn't it?
I guess the last few things I want to touch on, which almost circles back to a bit of a recurring theme throughout this podcast, is Williams and Ferrari.
Yeah.
Like in this Grand Prix, oh my God, I can't speak. In this Grand Prix, like Ferrari just looked no man's land. And yes, they've ended up beating one of the Williams, but it just, like Albon finished 5th and what did Leclerc finish? 7th.
Yeah.
And Leclerc didn't look likely of catching the Williams, let alone Antonelli. No race pace, poor communication. The telemetries on the broadcast showing the radio messages between the driver and the team, and then there was chat of Hamilton wanting to pass Leclerc when he was behind him because he had fresher tyres, and the team's going back and forth, and then by the time that happened, Hamilton's tyres had sort of lost their performance, and then Leclerc's on the radio saying, let me pass, and then the team's like, yes, we've told them to let you pass, and it didn't happen, and it's just like, because the other driver didn't know, like, just a mess.
Yeah.
Absolute mess.
Yeah, Ferrari back to their old bloody ways, and
standard bullshit from them.
Yeah, and you hear Hamilton call them out and say something about, like, you've finally stopped having your tea break and made a decision or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about the call when they're like, Sainz 1.4 behind, and Hamilton's like, oh, do you want me to let him pass too?
Yeah, because he just let Leclerc pass. Oh,
that was too good. Just sass from him.
I love it.
And also did you see when Hamilton was battling somebody and the engineer's in his ear saying something, and he's like, be quiet, don't interrupt me while I'm battling. Like, very stern. Engineer just keeps going back to battery recharge on. We need it recharged for the next straight. Just after Hamilton was in his ear, like, just shut up, mate, let me race.
Oh, God.
They just don't take a hint. It's like they don't care who the driver is. It's like, no, this is what we do. We're going to tell you the information. We're not going to tailor it.
Yeah.
You're here, and I'm just going to do what I'm told to do.
Yeah, that's the only thing I've kind of noticed already, is that it doesn't seem like they're gelling yet with how Hamilton operates. Like, the way he was in Mercedes and having that team around him and Bono and all that, like, they knew each other like the back of their hands, and that's probably why you didn't see or hear a lot of this. And there's obviously frustrations because the Ferraris are doing well in their strategies and their drivers and what they're doing, but the car itself is just slow. Not terribly, just off the pace for where
Not where Hamilton wanted it to be anyway. I'm sure he's
Exactly.
envisioning battling for podiums, and it just doesn't look likely at the moment.
Yeah.
But yeah, you didn't see Bono and Hamilton have back and forth. I think because Hamilton probably doesn't want a bucket load of information, and if he does want information, he's going to ask for it.
Yeah, they understood each other and knew what each other wanted or would give or whatnot.
It just doesn't seem like Ferrari adapt to their drivers. It's like, no, this is how we operate, and you will deal with it.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how things pan out. Obviously, it will get better. It'll just be how they kind of get along with each other. Yeah.
And so, well, the race itself, the last thing, well, two of the DNFs were from Ferrari engines blowing up, so we'll just chuck that on the record to keep an eye on as we progress, because that's a little concerning.
It is.
On the last lap, Sainz decided to go for this fucking dive bomb out of nowhere that just was never going to happen, and made contact with Hamilton into the last corner, and that was all a bit ugly. And
fuck, imagine if he took both of them out of the race.
I wonder if a part of that was like, you know what? Fuck you, you're in my old car, watch this. I'm in a Williams and I'm going to outdrive you. I'm going to finish in front. I wonder if there was a little bit of that going on.
Well, I saw something where they were doing like driver rating cards, like, you know, they do with the soccer players and stuff.
Yep.
And Sainz had a better rating than Hamilton. And he was like, oh, this is great. I'm rated higher than the GOAT. And Albon pointed at him and started laughing and said, you're rated higher and he replaced you.
Oh, that's right there. That's low-hanging fruit. But that's, you gotta go for that one. That's hilarious.
It was great. I thought it was fucking great.
Let him have it. So yeah, Piastri's extended his championship lead, and we look forward to the next round to see what goes on. It's a spicy season.
What's he out to now? Let's have a quick look.
We'll have a look at what McLaren's in front. McLaren are just almost got one hand on the constructors already.
Oh, don't start saying that.
246
to 141.
That's a huge lead.
105.
After 6 races?
Red Bull's only on 105.
That's wild. And look, yeah, Ferrari on 94.
In fourth.
So it very much seems like, unless, I don't know, Mercedes become the fastest team on the grid shortly, McLaren are going to run away with that by the time mid-season comes around.
So Piastri in the drivers is obviously in first on 131. Norris second, 115. Max third, 99. Russell's not far behind, fourth, 93. Leclerc, 53. Antonelli, 48. He's split the Ferraris now. So Hamilton's seventh on 41. Oh, no, sorry. Antonelli was higher, wasn't he? Does that mean Leclerc's come through a little bit? I can't remember what it was recently. But yeah, we're quite tight there in the 5th to 7th. And not points, but just numbers. 8th, Albon. Then we got Ocon, Stroll, Tsunoda, Gasly, Sainz, Hulkenberg, Behrman, Hadjar, and then yet to score points from 17th down. Alonso, Lawson, Doohan, Bortoletto. And that is it. There is another little thing here, but
we'll get to that in a
We'll talk about that in
real soon.
Another episode.
Right. So we didn't do predictions, a prediction podcast going to this, but we did do some predictions. So we'll quickly go over those to wrap up. So we got a tally on our points and where we sit. So I'll just quickly run through mine. So I had Leclerc for pole, wrong. I had Piastri to win and Norris second. So both those were right. I had Leclerc for third, which is wrong. I left the field. I had Antonelli to be greater than George, which I thought I was on for when that sprint quali went down. But the rest of the weekend, George beat him in every aspect.
Yeah.
And I had DNF risk Hamilton, and he didn't DNF, but I'm sure he probably wished he did. Had a few points in that race. So we wouldn't have to hear the engineer barking in his ear and driving around in that semi-tractor. So 2 points for me there. What about you, Fraser?
2 for Sticks. Sprint pole, I had Piastri. Sprint win, I had Piastri. Neither of those were correct. GP, the Grand Prix main race, I had pole Norris, win Norris. Second Piastri, third Russell. So the only point I had there is for Russell. Left to field, I had for all McLaren, Mercedes and Ferrari to score points in both sessions. So both the sprint race and the main race. And that did not happen. Because obviously Charles didn't even start the sprint. And then I don't know where Antonelli finished in the sprint either. I'm getting a bit distracted here. I didn't really need to run through this, but I will anyway. Oh no, Antonelli got 7th. Yeah, so it's just Charles that threw the spanner in the works for that one for me. And then we had a DNF Ollie Behrman, so that one was correct. So 2 points for me there as well. So that takes our overall points tally with the 2 apiece to myself on 11 and Sticks on 8.
Got a bit of work to do.
Yeah, maintaining a little gap there, so I
it's all right. I'll chip away.
I was going to build on that, and you'll fall in the arse, so we'll be all good.
You'll be laughing. On that note, box.
Righto, time to get out of here. Thanks for listening to another episode. If you enjoyed us, hit like, share, follow, share it with another F1 fan. Thanks, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Gotcha.
Oh, look at this. This is not a dog. This is a piece of shit.